3 years ago, I started dating my boyfriend. He's a great guy, and I really like him. But there's one friend of his who gets on my nerves. Let's call him Jay. Jay started asking me a bunch of weird questions, like would I be okay with my boyfriend drinking, or would I mind if he smoked, or could he go to parties or bars, or even was it all right if he hung out with other girls. It was strange, and I didn't like it. Jay would often make jokes about women in general. I get it, guys like to tease, and women do the same. But usually, you don't do that when there are women around, especially when I was the only girl in the group every time. It wasn't just one or two jokes either. It was constant joking about women the entire time we were together. I even asked the others, and they told me Jay only acted like this when I was around. At first, I politely asked Jay to stop, but he just said, "It's just a joke, or don't take it so seriously." Like, I wasn't going to let it go that easily. So, I started standing up for myself and telling him to shut up in a stronger way. The next day, my boyfriend sat me down and wanted to talk about Jay. He noticed I had been tough on him and asked what happened. I explained how I felt, and my boyfriend said he understood why I was annoyed, but Jay didn't mean any harm. Then, he started telling me about Jay's tough times and how he was going through a rough patch. I didn't buy it. Just because Jay has problems doesn't give him an excuse to be a jerk when I ask him to stop. We had a small argument, and my boyfriend asked me to be nicer to Jay. I agreed. But only if he promised to keep an eye on Jay's behavior, because he was the one who started this whole thing. At the next party, my boyfriend reminded me to be nice, and I reminded him to keep an eye on his friends. I mostly avoided Jay and was chatting with two other guys when he joined our conversation. He asked what we were talking about, but didn't wait for an answer before cutting me off and telling a joke about women. The other guys laughed, but I didn't. They noticed and told me, "Come on, it's just a joke." I didn't say anything. Jay kept going, telling another joke about male body parts, and we went through this routine 3 to 5 times. Finally, the other guy said, "Okay, that's enough." Op isn't laughing, Jay. Jay ignored the others and kept telling jokes, but now he was the only one laughing. I looked over at my boyfriend, who was having a great time talking to someone else and didn't seem to notice what was going on with me and Jay. The other two guys started to feel uncomfortable, glancing at me and then at Jay. They tried to change the subject, talking about a movie, but even that turned into a joke about an actress being hot. Then they tried talking about cooking, but that ended with Jay saying, "I'm sure I know your favorite food, a big fat sausage." Ha. It was clear they were trying to avoid conflict, but Jay just wouldn't stop. The conversation died, and the atmosphere became really awkward. People started to notice the tension and came over to see what was going on. This same pattern kept happening. They'd tell me to take a joke, get uncomfortable, try to change the subject, and then fall silent. Someone asked how long Jay had been telling these jokes, and one of the guys who was there from the start said it had been about 30 minutes. Jay seemed to be loving every minute of it, happy to be the center of attention, and he just kept going with his jokes, like he was performing a one-man show. Eventually, my boyfriend pulled me aside and asked what was going on. He knows I can stand up for myself, so he asked me why I was letting Jay disrespect me like that. I reminded him that he had asked me to be nice to Jay, and he said, "Yes, I asked you to be nicer, not to let him walk all over you." I simply said, "Well, I don't have anything nice to say to him." Then I asked my boyfriend if he finally saw that Jay was the one who started the whole thing. He asked if I was serious, and I said yes. I reminded him that he had asked me to be nice, but now I was asking him to look at how Jay was behaving. I told him I wasn't attacking Jay, I was just defending myself. My boyfriend finally understood, saying, "All right, I get it. You're right, Jay started it. I'm done with this conversation. Do your worst." We went back to the group, followed by some people who had overheard our conversation. The atmosphere was still awkward, and Jay was bragging about his masculinity. I walked up to him with a big smile and asked if he liked big fat sausages. At first he said yes, not catching the joke. I told him I actually love gay porn and thought we could bond over it. Jay got defensive and said he was straight. I teased him, saying he liked big fat sausages and had been talking about male body parts all night. So what's the big deal? When he firmly said he wasn't gay. I just said sure with a wink. After that, Jay was obsessed with making sure everyone knew he wasn't gay. Now that I think about it, he never mentioned his girlfriend as proof, which was interesting. After that party, my boyfriend never tried to defend Jay's behavior again. Story 2. I've seen some wild things living in Los Angeles, especially on the Metro Gold Line train. 2 incidents really stand out in my mind. One time, I was riding home when 3 really drunk girls got on the train. 2 of them started dancing on the poles, screaming and yelling like they were trying to attract attention. The 3rd girl was lying down in the seat behind my friend. The girl was making these groaning noises, with her head down, looking like she was about to throw up. I told my friend to get up and move away, but I don't think he heard me. Suddenly, the girl vomited all over the place, and my friend jumped up, totally disgusted. Since we were on a train, the vomit started flowing in our direction. Luckily, our stop came just in time. As we got off the train, the girl's friends finally stepped in to help her. They kept apologizing to us, thinking we were getting off the train because of the mess she made. But really, it was just our stop. The second time was even crazier. This guy was completely out of it, high on something, and kept trying to pull down his pants to defecate right there on the train. Everyone on the train, except for one Native American guy, was keeping their distance, trying to get away from him. One more time, I had a weird encounter while walking with my brother in downtown LA. There are always homeless people around, but this guy approached us and introduced himself. He handed us his business card, which was just a piece of paper with a website scribbled on it. According to him, he wrote stories about Obama and Clinton battling alien invaders, totally absurd stuff. But the really bizarre part was when he pulled out a can and a huge rat suddenly jumped out of it. We jumped back in surprise, and he told us not to worry, that it was a friendly rat and we could even touch it if we wanted to. We politely declined though.